if we wanted to really search for UFOs on Earth,
right,
and maybe detect things like weird physics, what kind of instruments would we be using?
yeah. So in the book, I talked about the idea. This is really stupid, but you want to look up, you want to look down, and you want to look all around.
I think that's brilliant. I mean, that's it's simple, not stupid. It's like literally.
Yeah, right. So you want to do ground-based detectors, that upward-looking ground-based detectors of the kind we're already building for meteors, right? For tracking meteors. You want to have space-based detectors, put them on satellites. This is what the NASA UAP panel was thinking about, and then probably on pilot. We have lots of people in the sky. There should be detectors on the planes, or at least some kind of alert system that if a pilot says, "Oh, look, I'm seeing something I don't understand," boop, presses the red button, and that triggers the ground-based and space-based data collectors. And then the data collectors themselves. This is something that people really don't understand, and it's so important. In order to actually do science with anything, the data you have to understand where it came from, like down to the nth degree. You have to know how that camera behaves in a bunch of different wavelengths. You have to characterize that. You have to know what the software does, what the limits of the software are possible. You have to know what happened to the camera. Was it refurbished recently? In every spectral wavelength, in all of its data collection and processing, you have to know all of those steps and have them all characterized. Because especially if you want to claim like, oh my God, I saw something take a right-hand turn at Mach 500, right? You better have all of that nailed down before you make that kind of claim. So we have to have characterized detectors looking up, down, and maybe on planes themselves. We need a rational search strategy. So let's say you want to lay out these ground-based detectors. Where do you put them? Right? There's only so much money in the world. So, do you want to put them near places where you've seen a lot of things beforehand, or do you want to, have them try and do a sparse coverage of the entire country? And then you need the data analysis, right? You're going to have so much data, so many false positives or, false triggering, that you need a way of sorting through enormous amounts of data and figuring out what you're going to throw out and what you're going to keep. And all of these things we're used to doing in other scientific enterprises. And without that, if we don't do that, we're going to be having the same damn argument about these things for, the next 100 years.
But if I give you $1 trillion and asked you to allocate it to one place, looking out, SETI, or looking at Earth, which should you allocate to?
Oh God, looking out. Because that's the best, as I always like to say, here's my codification of this. If you said, hey, Adam, I'd like to find some Nebraskans. And I said, oh, good, let's go to the Himalayas. You'd be like, well, why am I going there? I'm like, well, maybe there's some Himalaya, some Nebraskas in Himalaya. You say, no, let's go to Nebraska. If we're looking for aliens, why don't we look on alien planets where they live? Because we have that technology now, as opposed to the bucket of assumptions that you have to come up with in order to say, like, oh, they're here right now. They just happen to be here right now. And also, the very important thing, I called this the high beam argument. To deal with the UFO stuff, you have to deal with you have to answer these weird, irrational things that are happening. Like, okay, there's an advanced civilization that is visiting Earth regularly. They don't want to be detected. They've got super powerful technology, but they really suck at using it because we keep seeing them. But then they disappear, right? I mean, explain to me what rational world that works under. It's like, so there's that whole sort of argument you've got to explain, like, why, if they want to stay hidden, are they so bad at it? So, that's why I take that level of difficulty and then I put it on top of, where should I look? I should look at I should look at where they're from. That makes me want to do the telescopic stuff.
Yeah, I think the more likely explanation is either the sensors are not working correctly or it's secret military technology being tested.
Absolutely. I mean, if you had to listen, that's why, again, I think UAP, absolutely UAP should be studied scientifically. But if I had to make a bet, and it's just a bet, I would say this is pure state adversary stuff. When I did a New York Times op-ed for this in 2021, which blew up, and so I had a lot of people talking to me. While I was doing that, I sort of looked at the signals intelligence people, the SIGINT and EINT, electronic intelligence communities, and what they were saying about the New York Times articles and the various videos. And really, none of them were talking about UFOs. They were all talking about pure state. That's where I learned the word pure state adversaries. How, like, even simple drone technologies, you can And you purposely want to do this. You want to fake, signals into the electronics of their adversary, so they crank it up.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can just soak up all the electromagnetic radiation and know exactly what those advanced radars can do.